And hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly a very, very exciting time of year right now for Cardinal women's athletic fans out there, with a lot of fun events going on campus and off campus, and certainly what we like to say the spring schedule, as we've come to know it by, is blooming on the University of Louisville campus. We're also blooming with four participants on the show today. As Case so aptly pointed out, Daryl is out playing pickup sticks somewhere. If you see her in her neighborhood, hand her a beer and tell her to go left. She'll like that. But we've got some things going on with getting ready to have another tenant move into a house they've got. And she's busy picking up the remnants of a storm which rolled through our fine metropolis a couple nights ago, which woke me up too. Don't know about you guys, but it got me. So that was part of that. But we do have in house Jeff and Jared, and also, of course, me, Paulie. Who else could you want? And Case as well. So a nice foursome to do the show today. As we like to do to start the show out, we'll kind of catch up with the guys a little bit, see what they've been up to this week. We'll go ahead and start it with you, Case. You okay with storm damage and everything there?
Yeah, I guess the trees that were abused by the storms early last fall or last summer, whatever it was. They got they got everything out of their system because they didn't drop anything else really. Got the first mowing of the weekend or of the season in earlier this week, and followed it immediately with the second mowing before I even went inside. Mowed the front yard twice just to knock it down a second time, but yeah. Other than that, not a huge fan of the fact that it got cold again right after being 80 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, Mother Nature playing some games on us here. I'm not real happy with that either, but the double cut, now that's a procedure that has me fascinated. I never did that before, and now that I've got somebody doing the lawn, he doesn't do it. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, I did the front and back with the riding mower, and they were quite long. I left them long at the end of the season last year just to um, help them recover. So it was pretty thick. So I did the front and back with the riding mower, and I usually use an electric push mower. So I did the front again with the electric push mower, which cuts it a little bit shorter, um, and just wanted to not have to mow again in the cold today, probably, or tomorrow. Um, so I wanted to go ahead and get it shorter in the front so that it would be the right length when I go to mow it next week.
The combination gas powered riding mower and electric hand mower.
Mm-hmm.
You'll put this thing in articles and publications, Case.
Oh yeah, I'm the first one ever, trailblazer.
There it is. We'll have a picture of you operating them both simultaneously. No,
Sounds dangerous.
yeah, it could be fun. Jeff in the house. Jeff has been having his own adventures too, of a different type though. It's called IT. What's up, bud?
Yeah, a new computer. Like I mentioned last week that I just gotten it, and just getting stuff set up on it, getting the streaming set up. So we're back streaming again this week. I think, presumably, it seems to be working. But new laptop, new setup, new versions of software, new settings, challenges, stuff like that. So slight delay getting started today, but I think it's all working. But
That's me
lots to play
knocking on
around
my
with.
plastic laptop.
Yeah. So it's been interesting doing that, and then work's work. Um, it was a frustrating week at work, not due to any people, but just due to technology. So yeah, that's my week.
I don't miss those days of work. I'll be honest with you. Uh, yeah, there were some when I was in the coffee business. There were some weeks that I literally was using my product to stay alive with, keeping myself awake. 18 hours a day. So glad that those days are no longer with me. But other than that, sounds like you've been having fun there. Jared, I know you've been busy. I don't even have to preface you with anything. I just got to say, lay it on me, brother. What's going on?
All sorts of sports going on, running around like crazy. Feel like I'm spending a lot of time at the lacrosse stadium and the softball stadium recently, which is usually a good time. It was a little bit chilly yesterday, and when you're not playing so hot, it just feels that much colder. So we may have some sunshine today, but it's going to be another chilly one on campus.
I'll certainly get into that as it comes around. And as for myself, just another week of going through cardiac rehab. Things are doing pretty well in that aspect there, except for one episode I had where I had a dosage miscalculation on one of my blood pressure meds and took an unplanned nap for a little while. But everything's fine. I got it all straightened out and figured out. And it is. I mean, I just after I took it about 10 minutes later, I was getting up to basically walk into the other room and lay down and watch TV. And I just remember getting really dizzy in the hallway. And thank God it was carpeted, and thank God it's a pretty big, wide hallway. Because when I woke up, I was face planted in the middle of it. And I just kind of said, whoa. I used to feel that way years ago when I'd go out on a bender, but this is just a completely different feeling. Where I made it in the door okay. I knew where I was and I knew what my name was. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of laid there for a little bit, got my head together a little bit, and kind of just said, okay, let's first of all get back up on our feet and walk and then lay down for a while. And actually did some walking inside the house back and forth a little bit to clear my head even more. And then did something I rarely do anymore. I got myself a fully caffeinated, turbocharged Mountain Dew. As much caffeine as you can put into 12 ounces of anything. And that kind of helped me a little bit too. But other than that, I've had a lot of fun watching events. I've been told that I can't drive for today or tomorrow, and that makes me kind of mad because I wanted to get down to campus and see some things. But oh well. This is the time of the show where we normally get into some scheduling and Twitter information. And I've got Case and Jared both here. They had a pre-broadcast coin flip. And somehow Case won again. He gets to go first. I don't know.
We put our money on Paul to do scheduling today.
Boy, I would have bet heavy on that if I knew I was on the board. Oh, if I could have got 50-1, I'm all over it.
Yeah, we I think the coin flip was rigged by the Go Cards website choosing not to work for Jared.
He's tricky like
That's
that.
what he says anyway. I can't actually confirm that, but either way. Today, the diving zones continue at UofL. It's the last day of that event over at Ralph Wright. Elsa Prasternick qualified for another event yesterday, so congratulations to her. Louisville is hosting in rowing the Cardinal Invitational, but it is in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So hopefully, for their sake, out on whatever river that is, it is warmer than if they were hosting it on the Ohio River here in Louisville, because that would be unpleasant. That event is today and tomorrow. Baseball will be the first event on campus today, other than the swimming event. They're taking on Virginia Tech at 1 p.m. Lacrosse hosts Clemson at 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is Clemson's first season in lacrosse. Is that right?
Second, maybe?
Second season.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with the boys. I think it's season number 2.
All right. So I said, correct me if I'm wrong, and they did. So there you go.
Well, maybe. We may be wrong too.
Yeah.
Who knows? Clemson, in one of their first couple of seasons coming into Louisville, which I think would make that would make this their first trip to the Louisville Lacrosse Stadium. That one is at 2 p.m. And following that up, softball will take on Michigan, which is very interesting to me. A rematch of a non-conference game where they played in 2 separate tournaments. That one is at 6 p.m. this evening and will be on ACC Network Extra. Tomorrow, softball wraps up the Cardinal Classic with Illinois at. Nope, clicked on the wrong day. They wrap
You
up
are
Cardinal.
correct on the opponent, though.
Yeah. Well, that's how I knew it was on the wrong day because it said Virginia Tech. And that's not right. They're taking on Illinois at 5 p.m. on ACC Network. Women's tennis hosts Florida State at noon. Baseball continues against Virginia Tech, also at noon. And then men's tennis takes on Virginia Tech, but on the road. Seems like they should have planned that out better. Men's golf event going on from Monday through Wednesday. They're at the General Hackler Invitational in Myrtle Beach, hosted by Coastal Carolina. Baseball and softball will both play their midweek game on Tuesday. Softball is up in Oxford, Ohio, taking on Miami of Ohio at 5 p.m. And baseball will host Bellarmine at 6 p.m. In Jim Patterson. Swimming NCAA championships in Athens, Georgia begin on March the 20th, Wednesday. Those continue through Saturday. Thursday, baseball taking on Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, and lacrosse heads to Lynchburg, Virginia to take on Liberty University. That one is at noon. No video listed, and wouldn't expect any that you don't have to pay for. Friday, baseball taking on Wake Forest again. Men's tennis hosts Wake Forest. Women's golf is in Clemson, South Carolina for the Clemson Invitational. I was laughing because they're playing at the reserve at Lake Kiowee, which is not Kiowa, which is a very famous golf course. And softball brings in Duke for their second ACC series of the season. That one starting at 6 p.m. on Friday. No video listed, but I'm sure it'll be on ACC Network Extra at the very least. So that gets us through what is a pretty busy week, and will continue to be that way. Not on the calendar for whatever reason. Thursday and Friday will be the first round of the NCAA tournament on the women's side. So I don't know why they didn't put that on here, but I just remembered it, which is.
You mean you don't think our men will also get into the first round of the tournament?
Yeah.
No.
Is it there an eligibility requirement?
Do I get to coach them?
500?
You have to be at least 500.
Yeah,
Do I get to coach them?
Yeah, not possible.
But yeah, that's it. That's scheduling. As for X, I can't. It's just weird to say. I don't know.
It's Twitter.
I know. I am best case scenario, BST case scenario. Paulie is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared, and Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4. And as always, the sports like swimming, rowing, track and field, those are usually easiest to keep up with on their Twitter accounts. So be sure to follow them. You can get to all of them from the Go Cards website. I think that we have a link to a lot of them on our website. Obviously, no longer carrying the widget for reasons that are outside of our control. But that's it. Sounds like we got Paulie on mute if he's trying to take back over for my post scheduling shenanigans.
Well, maybe we lost Paulie altogether there for a minute.
I think he's on mute.
Cool. Well, while we wait on Paulie to get back, let's go ahead and start with the team that's already been playing on campus this weekend, some with the Louisville softball. As Case kind of mentioned, they're in the middle of the Cardinal Classic. They've already faced South Dakota and Illinois this weekend, but we do have to backtrack a little bit to when they played Virginia Tech. And the ACC opener last weekend actually got swept. They played the doubleheader last Saturday. Run ruled 11-1 in the first game. Took the Hokies to 10 innings. Softball normally plays 7, so this is quite a few extra innings before falling 5-2. And then the Sunday game, they fell 4-3 with the game time run on third in the final inning. Jeff, you were out there with me for some of that. What were you seeing with the team?
Yeah, it looked pretty good. This is what, Friday? No,
Saturday, Sunday.
They did not.
Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, I was there
They looked
Saturday.
bad
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was out there for the two games on Saturday. Yeah. I saw what I think was a pretty good team in U of L. This is my first chance to really put eyes on them directly in person, and have only been able to watch a few streams based on availability, given early season away games at random places that may or may not have streams. But it was I saw a good team. I saw a team that still needs a little bit of work. But I think improvement over last year. Obviously, we had to replace some really great players who departed, but um, I think we've done pretty well with that and developed the players that are there. The speed on the base paths is incredible. That's been kind of a hallmark of UofL for the past few years, but that continues again this year. I've kind of made jokes about Daisy Hess stealing second so much, but it's not just her. We've got other players doing it as well. So we've got some really good threats on the base paths. Didn't help out much last night, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I was impressed with what I saw. It's a good, solid team, good movement on the field, both offensive on the base paths and defensively covering the fields. Yeah, I liked it. I'm encouraged for what I see.
And just
Case,
to jump in, or can you hear
Oh,
me,
there
Jerry?
we go.
yeah,
Yes.
it's Paul.
I
I was
do
actually
have to
about to.
apologize, gang. Uh, went on mute to take a sip of coffee. The coffee went down in the wrong hole,
Oh,
and I'm glad I was on mute because nobody
yes.
should have heard what I was doing. Okay,
Well,
and
Paul, we're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be. I'm glad to be back because that was horrible. Oof.
You
But
hopped on just in time. I was about to get Case's thoughts on
did you say
after this
hawked on or
Louisville's.
hopped on? What did you say? Excuse me.
I'm gonna be back. But yeah, just thoughts on getting run
I
rolled
didn't
in that
hawk on your
first
case.
game.
I swear I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, thoughts on the Cards getting run rolled in that first game, but being able to regroup and take this second game into extras against Virginia Tech, and then even keep it close in the third game. We'll circle back to Case on that. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's impressive to, like you said, be able to recover in that way. That first game's unfortunate. You didn't want to really get, I don't know, you don't want to get blown out in your ACC opener, but you're playing Virginia Tech, who's one of the top teams in the ACC regularly. I think even more impressive is not just that they bounced back in game two, like you said, to go 10 innings, unfortunately, ultimately fall by 3 runs, but that wasn't the very next day. It was, 30 minutes later to come back after a real drubbing and a run roll to then um, show a lot of fight and keep it up. Unfortunately, ultimately still lose that game and then drop the final game as well. But it's still impressive. Louisville actually, I was putting together some first inning pitching stats, which we'll talk about the Illinois game a little bit more here in a little bit. But Louisville, the only game against Virginia Tech that they gave up a run in the first was the third game, where they were closest to being able to potentially take a win. So, it is unfortunate to get swept in that way, but I think it was encouraging despite the losses. Like I said, Virginia Tech's a good team, and Louisville showed some fight in the second game and the third game. So that's my thoughts on a bounce back there.
Well, Paul, now that we got you back, I'm going to hand the controls back to you. We've been talking a little bit of softball, but I want to get your thoughts on what you've seen out of this team this season, maybe some strengths and weaknesses they may have.
Yeah. When you take a look at this thing, the one glaring thing that stands out to me most of all is our plethora of pitchers this season. Okay. There have been years where we had a one-legged Gabby Holloway, and do you think that she's going to be able to go in relief should anything happen to Taylor over years? We've had those years before, gang. This year, I think they created a second auxiliary dugout to keep the pitchers in because they ran out of room on the first one. and there's a lot of good pitchers on his staff. Uh, I mean, you have an ex-UK pitcher. That's not bad. You've got a really, really good freshman. Some pitchers that have been here before. Sam Boo came in and did a wonderful job. That's the first thing that stands out to me. Holly has options on what to do with pitching. Obviously, she has an ace, and that's Alyssa Zabala. Let's not get that confused in any way, shape, or form anywhere. Okay, that is your pitching ace. But it's like I kind of wondered myself, why did they put Brooke in there against Illinois? Is this going to be her come to Jesus moment? Well, obviously it wasn't, but they roughed her up pretty well, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. Okay, so it's just good to see all that pitching. Now, as far as fielding, yeah, we're solid fielding. Allie Alexander's playing her fourth infield position in 4 years, I think. Next year they're going
Yeah,
to have her standing out on the balcony.
I think that's right, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because she started as a shortstop and then she moved to third base. She played first for a while, and now she's at second. And next move, she's going to be standing out on I-65 waiting for home runs to come over. But just, but there's good fielding there. Obviously, you can't knock. And if anybody does knock Daisy, I'll knock them down. On her fielding, she's good. She's really good at what she does. She's poised. She's a veteran. She knows how to handle the position well. And she's confident in it, too. That's the one thing I think you have to have, especially on that left-hand side of the infield guys. Confidence in your fielders at shortstop and third base. Because, what was it? Ferris Bueller said years ago in a movie, things happen pretty quick around here if you don't keep your eyes open. And they can on that side of the infield. So, hitting, I'm still not convinced we're a great hitting team. And when you run into a pitcher who obviously has the qualities and the skills that we ran in against Illinois' starter last night, didn't show me a whole lot of at-bats on that. Okay. And maybe it was just an off night. And if you do take a look at the record so far this season, sure, I see some games in here where things have gone pretty well when the Cards have been up at the bat. Obviously, some nice wins where the Cards put up multiple runs. Virginia Tech, I kind of figured that might happen. I was impressed that we did put up 5 on Arizona. That was good. And certainly was very impressed that we've been able to score 7 runs in a couple games too recently. Although we'll be at Central Michigan and Georgia Southern still at 7 runs, okay? You're moving runners. You're getting them around the plate. What's that say for us down the road? It ain't an easy schedule, kids. Definitely not an easy schedule ahead. Hopefully we'll see some good things happen today. But with all the pictures we got, Jared, let's go ahead and keep them circulating. Keep them going. Never lose in sight that Alyssa is.
You mentioned the pitching rotation, and I mean it has become quite clear that Alyssa Zabala, as a sophomore, is the ace and the go-to pitcher in this.
Yeah.
And it's not that the other pitchers aren't good. It's just maybe the consistency isn't there quite yet. We've seen some really good outings out of Brooke Gray. She really struggled yesterday. I mean, officially recorded as 0.0 innings pitched, even though I think she saw 4 or 5 batters, allowed 4 runs. But she's also a true freshman. That's going to take some time. Maybe a 4-pitch walk to the leadoff got in her head, and she's struggling to hit her corners after that. That could be part of it. I thought Gabby Holloway came in and once she got settled in that next inning, really pitched well. We saw a little bit out of another freshman, Lindsay Mullins, come in the final couple innings. She was able to work her way out of a jam. At one point, did give up a run. Not a big concern there. Sam Boo's shown some bright spots, but nobody has been consistent for them yet. And then that's, I think, where as you get to the back half of the season, you really want to see some of that change so you're not trusting Zabala only when you get to conference play.
Well, we've seen how that doesn't work when we try to do it with Taylor Roby for 18 years. Um, you can't. I don't think that pitchers are, kind of the same way that they used to be. I mean, you think back to the 2000s and Alabama, Oklahoma. You had
Yeah,
one pitcher throw 270 innings,
I'm
right?
gonna
And that's not
stop you in
happening
mid
now.
butt there, Case. Though we had a pretty fine picture at Oregon a couple years ago. I'm sure that Jeff
Marissa
will
Becker.
remember, and Jared will remember who that was. And she was one of those ones that could probably have gone a 21 inning, 3 game series with somebody if she needed to.
Yeah, I think maybe the change in softball has happened since then, though. I mean, it hasn't been that long since
Has
she
it
was
been
here, but
that
it's been a
long?
few years, and it really seems like, I mean, it feels to me like just literally in the past maybe 3 or 4 years we've seen that
Okay.
change, and that would be about the time since Becker was here, I
Yeah.
think.
Becker's senior season was 2017. So
Megan
maybe
Hensley
not
was
the
a
mid
fine
2000s,
pitcher.
maybe the 2010s.
I'll also throw Megan Hensley in there. She could give you very, very strong outings. Don't know
Yeah,
if
but
she was
she
a
wasn't. She
21 innings
wasn't.
or,
Yeah, she wasn't a one-person pitching staff, though.
yeah. Didn't see her as being one that could go 21 innings over 7 or over 3 games, right? But
Yeah.
maybe you got a point there, Case. Continue on.
But that's all I was getting at is like I said, we can't trust Zabala to. I mean, we can trust Zabala. We can't depend on Zabala to be throwing 7 innings every other day. It's just not. I don't think it's something she wants to do. I don't think it's something she's comfortable with. I don't think it's what Louisville needs, and I don't think it would happen. So, like you said, we need a little bit more consistency out of the staff in general. But like I put in the article today, which was brief because I didn't want to mull on Louisville getting shut out for the first time this season offensively.
Yeah.
But the difference between, obviously the offense didn't show up against a not very good Illinois team, which is why I think Brooke Gray got the ball because Illinois wasn't very good. You just see what she can do to start at home, probably planning to start Zabala against Michigan. The first inning pitching is bad. Like, it's not been good this year at all, which is weird because the pitching in general has been pretty decent. But Louisville's ERA is like 2.3 higher in the first inning than it is overall. Their WHIP is like 0.4 higher in the first inning. You can't just give up a bunch of runs and give up a bunch of walks and hits and throw a ton of pitches in the first inning and expect to win games. Every game that they have completely blanked the opponent in the first inning, so no runs, no walks, no hits, they've won those games. And every game that they've given up runs in the first inning, and I say runs because that game against Virginia Tech, the last game of the series, was the only time they've given up a run in the first inning, and it'd been only one run. All but one of the games they've given up runs in the first inning, they've lost. So it starts there. That's where the game begins. It's where the pitching has to be on it from the very jump. And you look at a game against FAU, you give up 2 runs first inning, you lose. Furman probably should have beat them, gave up 3 runs in the first inning, lose. Villanova definitely should have beat them, and you give up 2 runs in the first inning and you lose. That's where it starts and ends. I think with this team is getting off to better starts in the circle will result in better end results, I think.
Well, I think it all goes back to what Sandy Pearsall proposed years ago. Play 8 innings and get to pick the best 7. And in our case, we throw at the first inning.
I think, yeah, in most cases it would be the first. You just toss
At the very end of the game, you've played 8 innings. Each coach gets to go out to the umpire and go, I want to take everything with the 5th inning here, okay? And the other one goes, nah, we don't need the 3rd inning the way that we played. So you throw those 2 innings out on the at-bats for each other team. And that's probably why Sandy's enjoying her dogs now and not coaching. So what's the foreseeable future with this team, Jared? I mean, we've shown already that we're not getting a great start out. into Virginia Tech. The Duke has got a very, very strong softball team this year. Uh, where do we go from here, pal?
I think there's a lot of mental discipline that this team still is working on. They lost to Illinois yesterday. They were just not in it from the get go. You could see it in their face and their body language. I thought it was the same with the game against Virginia Tech where they got run ruled, especially the start of the game. When they lost to Furman in that 13-9 game, there's just times that they're not in it. Their heads are not in the game, and there's way too many veterans and experienced players on this team to be dealing with that multiple times in a season. So I think they really need to figure that part out. Uh, would love to see some leaders step up and really take control here. I think maybe that's a good spot for where somebody like Riley Frizzell or Daisy Hess could really step up, be that team captain, and just stay on top of people and hold them accountable and day in and day out.
Is that what you're seeing, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was distracted by something on my computer. Sorry, but yeah. There's work to do on this team, definitely, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure what needs to be done at this point because I'm not a good softball coach, but there's definitely challenges still to be met here. So, yeah, sorry, not much of an answer there, but
Okay, so what are you seeing here? Is it something that April and her coaching staff can get straightened out in a couple 3-game series and get them to where we'd love to see them, or is this a thing that may linger a bit longer than that?
Well, I think it could get sorted out, but I think it also is something that could linger. Like Jared said, it's
A great
it's a
answer.
matter of focus. And well,
Why don't you cover all the bases?
I was saying focus is something that you definitely can try to work on and improve, but I mean, it comes down to the players if they're going to do it or they're not. I'm sure that they understand that the team not being locked in, which is what contributes to bad pitching starts. If you're not locked in, then you're not locked in, and the team or the coaching staff sees that. I'm sure they're working very hard to change it, but I'm not in the locker room. Obviously, I don't know what the players are talking about and saying and doing day in and day out. We don't know what's going on with them with school. We don't know what's going on with them with life. Like, are they receptive to saying, "Hey, maybe don't sleepwalk through the first inning against a team that's below 500 at home"? I don't know.
We're 17-9. I mean, we're not exactly the worst team in the league, okay? But there's been some games where we basically, like you all said, we had no prayer at the end of the first inning, and no miracle was going to happen. The team had basically just decided to play out however long it took to finish this one. That's kind of sad to see. Where does that come from? Leadership. How do you get the leadership fired up on this team? I think some coaches would tell you there are different ways to do it. Hollywood's way seems to be, I'm going to shut up and not say anything. Is that the way to do it? I don't know. Let the team work it out itself? I don't know. You tell me. But still, like I said, we got nothing to cry about all that much at 17-9. It's not too bad, guys. I've seen Louisville softball in a lot worse shape than that.
Yeah, but the schedule doesn't get easier. You've got
No,
Duke
that's the whole thing. It
weekend.
doesn't get easier at all. No,
Duke's ranked. We play Clemson later this year. They're ranked. We play Florida State later this year. They're ranked. We play Kentucky later this year. They're ranked. I mean, the schedule is going to be a pain in the rear end going forward. So there's no. It's not taking a game off. I mean, you can't even take an inning off when you get these ranked opponents that are all set to host super regionals right now.
Sure it is. And let's not forget that I think Illinois came into this thing under 500, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a couple games against LSU, who's top 5 in the country right now, played them close. They had a couple one-run losses. So they were 10-11, I think, entering the weekend. But, I mean, they could easily have been like 15-7 or 15-6 right now too. Just a few run difference.
Well, but they're not.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those.
Yeah, Louisville could
Ultimately they could finish.
Louisville could easily be a 20-6, or they could be 22-4 for all I care. We're gonna say that.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
they could be under
same
500.
situation. Just got to be able to finish and close out games sometimes.
Yeah, you got to have a very, very. You basically, I forget who said this. Maybe it was John L. Smith. You just got to tear off the rearview mirror and keep going forward. With a team that seems to be as fragile as it is in leadership, though, right now, if you throw out the rearview mirror, chances are the driver is going to follow it out the side of it. It's the best analogy I can make on it. But let's come to chase and see things will get done. Did want to kind of get over and talk about a few other things here, and we've got plenty of time to talk about these. Let's take a look at lacrosse briefly here a little bit. I guess first I should ask you guys, got anything else on softball you want to close that before we move over to lacrosse?
Yeah, let's win the rest of the weekend.
Jared with words of wisdom. Indeed. Yeah, let's win the rest of the weekend. That's a good way to put it, man. Throw that rear view window out. There you go. I think when you take a look what's going on with lacrosse right now, and Jared, you've been out there a lot more than I have. Just kind of give us an idea a little bit here of what's going on with Teeter's squad right now. And, how do you see us there? Are we a better team than last year?
Yeah, I'd say so. Watching them against Boston College last weekend is what made me feel comfortable with the fact that this team is better than last year. Boston College is a team that's been to 75% of the national championship games over the last 15-ish years or so. So a strong program who's number 3 in the country. Their only loss was to another top 3 team this year. We only lost 17-14. This is only the second time all season that Boston College has allowed more than 11 goals in a match. So offensively it was great. And this was one of the lower scoring games for Boston College as well. So, yeah, you may look at it as, wow, we gave up 17 goals. But in my head, I'm thinking, wow, we held Boston College to under their season average by about 3 or 4 goals, which is great. So, I mean, you're running with one of the best teams in the country here. I mean, ultimately, you're playing catch up the whole way down. The match down 3-4 the whole time. But you still were able to run with them for most of the game. So that shows a lot of improvement. They never rolled over and played dead, which I thought last year's team did a few times. So it's encouraging. The schedule's not going to be much easier. Clemson's ranked today, so same situation. But so many offensive scorers. I think we've got one of the top goalkeepers in the country, especially with saves. So if we could lock down on defense a little bit more, maybe win a few more draw controls, it'll put us in better shape.
I'm going to do this one especially for Jeff now because I know how much he loves statistics. But we have played 8 games. Our record's 3-5, but we have scored 107 goals. Our opponents have scored 108 goals in 8 games.
That's remarkably even.
It's
I'm not
right
sure what that
there,
means.
but
It's remarkably even.
it's a photo finish. Absolutely. Our opponents have scored 42 goals. We have scored 38 with a 3-5 record. I find that one pretty amazing as well, too. So I think what you've got here, and especially, I think Teeter would probably tell you the same thing if you were to ask him about it and pin him down on it. He says, we're doing fine with stuff around the goal. It's the midfield where we're having our trouble. Is that pretty much what you're seeing, Jared?
Yeah, I think midfield's a part of it. Some of those loose ground balls and transition. I think defensively our transition isn't great. We're getting beat in the midfield. But I'm still concerned a little bit with our defense. You'll see later in the shot clock, it seems like our defense will kind of leave a lane wide open right in the middle. They'll kind of run behind the goal for a little bit, pull the defenders away, and then next thing you know, they've got somebody dead center ready to go for a shot. And that to me, that's something I'd like to see addressed. Is even if you just need to plant a defender there to stop that and take a charge or just alter the shot, do that because I think we're getting beat a lot of times straight on that.
And unfortunately, you had to play the entire period of either the time clock running out or you getting the ball back again. Yes, you do. Clemson, in their second year, by the way, they beat us last year in their first year competition. Coming up today, this is a 2 p.m. game, and they'll be playing this one at, I guess we could call it the Lacrosse Stadium, even though we don't play all of our home games there.
Well, it's the only thing that plays there, except for intramural field or intramural soccer sometimes when the goals try to kill you when it's very windy. Not speaking from personal experience or anything.
Nah, not at all. The facility's a fine one for daytime lacrosse. Louisville has decided that they want to play nighttime lacrosse every once in a while, and so they'll put 300 people in a 56,000 seat stadium. Not sure about the logic there, but and we've talked about, I guess, before the cost that would be involved in putting in lighting at the Louisville Lacrosse Stadium that would sufficiently light the field for evening events. From what I remember, guys, we figured that was cost prohibitive, maybe that it couldn't be done yet.
Yeah, you'd be looking in the probably around 6-figure mark to do so. Just the type of lights you need, and then to program them the way they run the light show at basketball, football, softball. So it's a pretty heavy expense factor.
What if we were to have every car that's parked across the street over there that we're renting the area out for turn on their headlights and point them at the stadium?
I mean, I'd be all for it.
What if we just put a train? What if we just put lights on a train, right? And then they just park the train there. Then you don't have to dig them. You don't have to. You just put the and then it just drive away later.
UPS planes flying by every 15 seconds with big ass spotlights.
That happens anyway.
Well, yeah. but with big spotlights on their wings. And we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Clemson, done well with their program to start out with. You got to give them credit for that. They are playing, I think, probably as well as they would have expected to be playing, and maybe even better. Clemson has done well with that. Our chances against them, Jared?
It's going to be tough. I mean, if we play like we did against Boston College last week, I think they've got a great shot. But it's all about what team decides to show up today. But I think if we can keep it close down to the fourth quarter, I think there's a good shot.
And certainly got to hope that the fan base will get out for that one today, because it looks to be a wonderful afternoon right now. Just gazing at the window here, right? Let's hope that they can come in and see this one come down. Put some, and sad to say this, I haven't been out to a game this year out there. How are they doing concession wise and stuff like that? If they still got the little circus window tents where you buy your tickets to go see the Flying Trapeze act there, Jared?
Bring your own snacks and food because they've got nothing there, and your only restroom options are some porta potties on the south side of the stadium.
Oh boy!
But that's why you go to the one at L&N Stadium. I think not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday when we play Xavier. You'll have concession stands and true restrooms to work with.
Yeah, it just looks so horrible on TV. But get out there and fill the stands. That's the way to solve that, folks. I was trying to bring up here on the Go Card some individual statistics on the players this year. I can find the team ones, but I'm not getting players.
Try hitting individual if there's an extra tab.
I'm looking for, but
What do you want to know, Polly?
okay. I was just looking over here to see who our leading goal scorers were.
Oh, it's your
Kokoro.
girl Kokoro with 28 goals.
Okay, I see it now, but mine is too small. Okay, I can change that too. I finally found it. God, it's amazing what he can do with the fingers. So we're looking at this. Peroni's having a good season for us as well. I'm looking here. Allegra, our girl Allegra's having a pretty good year too, Jared. So I'm looking ahead here real quick, Jeff, on what we've got coming up the rest of the year. And he mentioned how tough it was. Uh, do you think the ACC are eventually going to kind of figure out that the Nakazawa sisters are pretty good? And then
I suspect they probably already have. Particularly when you pair them together. Yeah, I suspect they're getting scouted a fair bit at this point. You know, eh, when they score in bunches, and depending on which one steps up for that each game, almost contrasting with like Nicole Peroni, who can score in bunches as well, but also is very very consistent given the streak of consecutive games in which she scored in. Now that's into the mid 40s. I think there's some interesting contrasts in the scouts there, where you have this really consistent score. It's gonna score 3 or 4 on you, and then you've got the Nakazawa sisters, maybe none, maybe 6. So it makes it the inconsistency makes it a little harder to scout, but it also makes it a little harder for us to game plan. So yeah,
just looking at Kokoro here with this is the one that stands out to me big time for 28 goals and 11 assists to lead the team with 11 assists, almost twice as many as anybody else on the team. My question is asking the sisters: is there anybody else like you at home that can come over here? Do you have little sisters? Will you send your little sisters here, please? We will train them. Amazing stats out of her. So Teeter's attitude still seems to remain very good about the team. He's eternally optimistic about it. I think he's happy now that his girls from Japan are speaking up and getting a little more vocal and doing post game stuff as well, too, Jared.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much of that is Teeter telling them, "Hey, you're coming in to post game," versus them stepping up, volunteering themselves. But it's always nice to get a chance to talk to the different student athletes and just hear their thoughts on the games and how they visualize things and interpret them.
Okay, so I think when you look at this team, also let us not forget the venue and the conference that we're playing in. ACC lacrosse is very, very tough and very, very good. Can we rise to the level of success in this particular sport that we have in other women's sports over the years and anytime soon?
Well, it's what it's like Jared mentioned. Boston College is one of those teams that has been right there at the top of the national picture for many years, and Louisville showed that they could play with them. They matched Boston College in every quarter except for the first in their game last week, and they won the draw control battle. They were a bit shy on turnovers, which was unfortunate, but they definitely could play near the top there. And every year we look at the team and we say, is this going to be the one? Maybe they can finally get over the hump. This year they opened the ACC with the loss to Virginia Tech, but then followed up with a big win over Pitt. Unfortunately, you run into Boston College the game after that, but that's a good showing. 14-17, you'd look at that and you say, well, they still lost, but I'm not usually one for moral victories, but the way that Louisville has played in the past and the way that the way Boston College has dominated this season in some games, Louisville still only has one game in which they've scored 8 goals or fewer, and it was the opener against Denver, who, surprise, surprise, also in the top 5. Tough loss to Colorado. They lost by 1 goal. Could have turned that. They'd be at 4-4. Loss on the road to Lindenwood. That one's unfortunate, but it's only a 3-goal loss. This team, I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but it might be the one we've been waiting for, where you look and you say, "Oh, good, we got an ACC win early in the season," and then, "Oh no, we didn't get one again after that." I think that this team could finally kind of turn that around. It's unfortunate to run into, another ranked team right after Boston College. You've got some other big competition later in the season, but if Louisville's going to make noise, we're going to find out today. If they come out today and they fall flat and they get smoked at home to Clemson right after a good showing against Boston College, then maybe we know. Maybe we know that we're still not there, and there are more questions to be asked. But I think that if that's not what happens, and Louisville does have a fantastic showing, they pick up a win, move back to 500 in conference, then we just see what happens after that. I think that Louisville can compete in the ACC in lacrosse, and I think they showed that they could do that before. They just haven't shown it recently.
I think also what's going to help them, and you guys can chime on this as well, is that we have lacrosse in the ACC continually adding schools to the actual program. Where in field hockey, what you got is pretty much set, and that's the way it's going to be. Amen. Lacrosse is bringing in schools with strong programs in other sports and bringing in lacrosse teams in their first and second year, although building them different ways, to very, very good success. I think that's good for the whole league, and I think it's good for Louisville as well, where the competition in league is going to be something where they don't have to go out of league as often to find strong opponents because they know they're going to get them when they get into conference play. What's your all's thoughts on that?
Well, it's not good for Louisville to build up their ACC record when the teams just get to be ranked as soon as they start. That's not fair. You're supposed to be bad when you start your program so Louisville can get some wins.
But they did it different ways. One of them did it through the transfer portal, and the other did it with the very, very strong freshman recruiting. There's no one key pattern here that makes a newcomer good. I've seen 2 different ways it's been done. Not fair to us, right? Okay. That gets into a whole other ball of wax, though, that I won't even get into. And it has to do with the Morissette dilemma. But anyway, we won't go there. Jared, thoughts on this? What do you think about this team?
Yeah, just sweep the legs on everybody you play, be all right. No, it's going to be tough the rest of the season with ACC play. That's, as Case mentioned, the rest of the ACC is just so freaking good. But I've liked what I've seen out of this team so far. So I think there's promise.
Jeff, let me ask you this. Can you go to a high-flight high school prospect and say, hey, yeah, you can either stay at home and play for Townsend State and maybe win the conference title, or you could go play against ACC competition, the best in the nation, and maybe have a chance in getting to the NCAA tournament? How does that type of argumentation and reasoning fly toward a high school senior?
It depends on the senior. Obviously, there are players who are competitive and want to compete that level. Depends upon what the nature, what the player's nature is. Some just want to go out there and have fun and enjoy playing and play at their best level, and the whatever success they have is what they get and they're happy with it. But some are, I want to go compete for a national championship. I was listening to before we started this morning, I was listening to Dan Meskey's podcast, associate volleyball head coach, associate head coach for volleyball, Dave Meskey, and he was interviewing Alyssa Dorico, the former assistant at UofL. And one of the things he asked about her was the recruiting process where she went to Penn State. And she said the first thing she said when they asked what they were looking for was, "I want to win a national championship." Then she went on to do that 4 times. But what she pointed out is that most recruits will talk about the scholarship first. And then they talk about maybe wanting to play for a national championship. She wanted to play for a national championship. That was her mindset. That was her, so some players are like that, and they're in high school and they have that vision and they have that's what they want to accomplish. So, uh, it's going to depend on which type of player you're talking to. The second challenge is that believable, right? You're going to come to UofL, you're going to play against some of the best teams in the country in the ACC. Is true, is beyond a doubt. But then the question of, I want to play for a national championship, though. Yeah, you could come and play at UofL. Are they going to believe that right now when you look at this program? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Very good point there. Very good point there indeed. Yeah, I'm going to be playing in a conference-rich league. Gee, but am I on a team that's rich? Sure. I come to Louisville, I'm not going to be as rich as the Boston colleges in the world and yada yada yada. At least Kelly Young kept the team competitive in conferences that weren't worth a damn. Okay. Well, now we've got Teeter who's doing a great job in a very tough conference, but not keeping us competitive most of it. So there's your onus, as they say. What are you going to do? Also wanted to kind of move over. Anything else on lacrosse? Anybody? I'm getting nose. Okay. Let's take it on over to the NCAA women's basketball tournament. Yes, they're still going to play it. It seems that this delay between the final week of the season, post conference tournaments and such, and then the long wait to actually start the tournament. I don't know if I like this or not, gang. Sure, it helps the teams heal up, obviously, but y'all tell me about this. Is the lengthy delay before the end of the ACC tournament and the start of the NCAA tournament, just to give an example, is that good?
For this team, I'd say so. I think there's a lot that Walls is still trying to work on with this team. 3-point shooting and a lot of defense. They really just haven't been able to figure defense out yet. So having this extra time without having to do a lot of film study and game planning, he's able to just sit here and drill this into their heads nonstop. So I think at least for the first game of the tournament, there's a good chance that we'll come out and we'll see a revitalized team.
Been told a lot, Jeff, or Case, whichever wants to handle this one. This team doesn't have a true leader. Yay or nay?
I
Correct.
would agree with that. I don't necessarily think that that's a critical problem. I think there would be benefits if there was one, for sure. I don't necessarily think that I don't believe. Pardon me, the multiple negatives in here. I don't think you can't do well without a really good leader, without a strong leader on the team. That makes sense?
Well,
Right.
It does in a way.
Yeah, I think you can have a lot of success. I think you can make a deep run into the NCAA tournament without a single strong leader on the team. Like, it helps if you have one, but it's not necessary. So, is my thinking.
One of the things I also look at, Case, coming into this tournament and all, is obviously the pre-tournament pundits out there, is what I'll call them. Charlie Korean and the other guys who say, oh, well, they're going to send so-and-so to so-and-so, and they'll be ranked so-and-so in that region. I happened to take a look at Mr. Charlie's predictions today. He has Louisville as a 6th seed. Yes, what people are saying, well, we could be a 6th seed. He seems to think we're a 6th seed. So that's a pretty good thing. He also says we're going to Corvallis, Oregon. Somebody get out a hammer and hit him over the head. Cardinal fans do not want to go that far. Why couldn't they send us somewhere nice? I mean, at this point in time, I'd settle for Iowa City. It's not that far. That's not a bad drive.
Well, you just be a top 4 seed and you don't have to travel at all.
South Bend? Yeah, well, of course, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot on that possibility. But I doubt they'd send us to South Bend. But then I'm taking a look at some of these first round sites. How in the hell do Stores end up as a first round site when they're in there with Stanford, Spokane, and also Baton Rouge? How messed up is that region? Holy cow. Oof.
Yep.
That was after the fourth round of shooters.
Well, you look at the Portland
Yeah,
4. So the Portland 3 and Portland 4 are both kind of nightmares.
saw that four.
'Cause-
That four is just as ridiculous.
LA, Bloomington, Raleigh, and Austin, Texas.
Yeah, the only one they don't have in there is Gatlinburg. I mean, come on. But take a look at the seating, the way he has it. If you want to believe that, opening against Auburn, Auburn playing in a very tough conference, no doubt about that. And then if they get past that, then they get to play either Oregon State or Portland. I wonder what's nation and state those are in. Where's Corvallis? Do you see a connection here? Or are they trying to ensure? Well, Louisville, they're going to fade like always, and we put Oregon State and Corvallis. That's going to be pretty good, huh? Yeah. Overall, look at the bracket. Any surprises to you guys in here?
I'm surprised he has Miami in.
Yeah, I mean, he does have them as one of the last four in.
I wonder if them beating North Carolina for their first game of the ACC tournament was just enough to put them over the hump.
Oh, I think it was, yeah, for sure. I think it had to help a whole lot. What I'm seeing that some Cardinal fans may not be very happy with is that he's got Mississippi State as one of the first four out. And Sam Purcell just went down there and, I mean, he nailed it off the tee every chance he got with this team this year. And to be considered first four out, man, I'm hoping that kind of turns around and they're like one of the last four in, maybe. I mean, do you take them or do you take a Vanderbilt? Seriously, Charlie? They're hog nuts about that program down there at Mississippi State. At Vanderbilt, it's, well, do we go do that or do we go watch cricket on the South Lawn? Tough call. They don't give a about basketball in Vanderbilt. Mississippi State likes women's basketball quite a bit, you think? Maybe because they've been good at it. Thoughts on that case?
Well, Vanderbilt is 57th in the net rankings, which is 10 spots behind Mississippi State. Mississippi State is ahead of Miami in the net rankings. I mean, I don't exactly see. I don't see what Cream, whatever his name. I don't see what he's seeing with Vanderbilt getting in over, like you said, over Mississippi State in particular, and Miami getting in. Outright. I just, there's a lot of bad teams that are going to get bids this season. I wrote about it in the article a bit. I think 22 automatic qualifiers will be ranked lower than 50th.
It boggles the mind.
Well, and so that means teams like Miami that are sitting at 51st, Vanderbilt sitting at 57th. I mean, those bids aren't there. There's not that many teams, or there's not that many slots. when there's 68 teams that get in automatically, or 68 teams that get in, 22 of them are very bad and getting in automatically. That means there's 46 bids. So if your net ranking is below 46, you're in danger. And Mississippi State's at 47. They probably feel like they should have a better shout than being first four out and not even getting into the first four games. But
Hell, 2 of your last 4 in are from the SEC.
Yeah.
According to him.
Yeah.
At Auburn, as a last 4 bye, yeah, it could be interesting. Interesting indeed. Jeff, if you're Jeff Walls and not Jeff McAdams right now, obviously you'd be having a lot more computer success because you'd have a really nice one.
I have a really nice one.
He'd probably have a much less nice one, but he'd have somebody else who takes care of the issues.
Yeah.
If you're Jeff Walls right now, how heavily do you depend on the players you know you've got coming back next year as you go through this tournament run? A lot of them are here, play their one and done. You know it now.
You're asking how much do you lean towards players that are coming back for this postseason run, kind of in preparation for next year.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, man, that's a sensitive topic.
You can't sacrifice success to play people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, you want to do the best you can, and put your best players out there on the court. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. You look at this season, and you say, we said for a little while we don't think that at least I have, that I don't think this is a Final Four team. So how much do you kind of prep for what might be a Final Four team come next year with seeing what they've got coming in? I don't know. I think Walls is going to put the best players on the floor and try to get as much success as he can out of this year. That would be my approach. I think it's probably his approach, knowing that at least some of that's going to pay off for next season. But next season's going to worry about itself, and we've got the potential of 6 more games to play and focus on those first.
I see a lot of that. I do. I see a lot of that. One thing I think, another topic of debate here, and we'll probably make this the final one before we get into our final thoughts, is why has the NCAA got this love affair with Louisville on the West Coast in women's basketball? Can anybody explain this to me?
They forgot that Haley Van Lith isn't here anymore.
That may be the answer.
They can't see her at LSU. She's invisible, so.
Oh.
Harsh but true.
Who's got a response to that one, gang?
Oh.
We. So yeah, I knew when I opened Green's first one and he had Corvallis up there. I'm like, okay, great. That's just fantastic. Anybody else want to chime in on that obvious miss, Jesse?
It's. I never know how much this is real and how much it's just perceived among Louisville fans of being disrespected by the larger area, by the larger sports that they play in. It seems to happen in a lot of sports. There are a few exceptions. We're starting to get some respect in a few spots but we're like, this is a women's basketball team. This has been a nationally competitive team for a decade and a half at this point. But yet we still get left out of some of these discussions of some of these best teams, and you talk legitimately about UConn and some of these other teams that have had multiple decades of this sort of success. But at a decade and a half, I think we should start being included in some of those conversations at this point. But it seems we don't, for the most part. So that's more than a little bit frustrating. And I think it comes through when you see, Charlie Cream and others in their work.
9 ACC schools in his projected conference breakdown seems to be what the talking heads on television have been mentioning as well, Jared. SEC with 8. I can see both of those happening. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say so. A couple year better women's basketball programs out there. And the ACC is just going to get better with the addition of Stanford next year and Cal, who's had some success in past years. But yeah, so we may see the ACC with 10 teams next year. But I like the idea of 9 this year.
Could be a very, very fun thing to see. See how many get past those first rounds. Because I didn't look at how many he had. The way it breaks down, you've almost got to have like 2 in each conference, except for one conference or one bracket that has 3 on its side. 2, 2, 2, and 3 as far as teams per region. Well, let's hope that we can advance them. Let's see us do good against the rest of them. Let's go into some final thoughts now as well. Let's see. We'll start with Case this week. What you got for me, pal?
Yeah, I didn't write about it in today's article, but the track and field team started their outdoor season. Riley Penn, who's a senior, ran the mile and did it very well. She set a new school record, 4:11.97, which was better by 7 seconds than Louisville's previous program record in the 1500 meter. So that's fast. Is really good. And I just wanted to say congratulations because I could never dream of running a mile that fast.
If they gave me 2 days to do it, then I could.
To do the mile, you could do a mile in 2 days.
I'm pretty sure I could get it done in 2 days.
Not in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. You're saying?
No, I may need just a little bit longer in that case to get around the first turn.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is on a track that has 8 laps equal a mile. Okay. Because there's going to be issues come up. I'm going to have to debate stuff. But very, very, very good points, though. Very good, sir. Jared, what you got for me, man?
It's nice to be the smartest one out of our whole Cardinal couple group as I finished second in the ACC pick'em.
Yeah, that's my final thought. I said that I was cooked, and you guys said no, I was, and then immediately I was out. Like I don't know why you. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Since I finished top 2 in one of the pick'ems last year too, so I would like to boast my
selection
my
prowess.
winnings.
Did you get your card yet, by the way?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Wanted to make sure it got out there. So I think there's going to have to be sanctions imposed on Jared then. in any contest.
In all fairness, my picks are out there in the comments every time.
Oh, well, everybody's is. Yeah, we made sure of that. We don't want any guys sneaking in here and saying, "Well, I heard." No, everybody's got to be visible. So I think you're going to have a minimum NCAA tournament prediction. You get 4 losses automatically. Okay, those are right there right now. You're basically playing with a handicap.
Cool. We'll go ahead and call those 4 losses the play-in games.
I think they're going to be just a random selection. Yeah, it could be one. It could be a. I don't know if the play-in games should count either. No, I'm throwing those out. Jared, you are now under sanctions. The Cardinal couple, much like our program is. Good job, sir. Proud of you. What you got for me, Jeff?
Yeah. I'm a little bit blank on things. Obviously we've got a little bit of a layoff until we've got more basketball. We've got field hockey and volleyball playing spring ball. We've got softball and lacrosse in the early seasons of their play. It's just we've got a lot going on. It's a little hard to keep up with, and it's a lot of fun trying to do it.
It is kind of like trying to bail out a boat with a thimble, isn't it? But yeah, it is a great time of year right now. A lot of good things going on. As far as mine here, Jeff Wall doesn't need any more stressful situations, y'all. Okay? He really doesn't. The man is going to flip out and have a major nervous breakdown on the sidelines. I know because I'm damn near having one every time I watch him coach anymore. You just never know. He's feeling the stress. He's feeling the heat. He's feeling the pressure. So I'm pointing at his players and say, listen to your coaches. Listen to Walls. Do what he's telling you to do so you're not raising his blood pressure over 200 on the top number. Let's play Louisville basketball like Louisville basketball should be played. And that's by running patterns, by hitting the board strong, by getting the ball to the player that's hot. These are the things that the program were built on. Take a look at the players who have been so great for us over the years. Dana Evans, Angel McCoughtry, the list goes up and down. Good players listening to their coaches and doing what they're told to. And as far as that goes, one last one here. Happy birthday, Double B's, Becky Burke, head coach of Buffalo.
Yep,
NCAA
playing for their conference championship today,
yes,
right?
Playing for the
Yeah.
conference championship too.
So upset Toledo yesterday, number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Double
way to go.
B's, who could never rebound in her 4 years at Louisville, has always found the ability.
But she was always out at the 3-point line, so you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. She had it further to go than anybody else.
Yeah.
So you got to crash the boards, Becky. I'm already back underneath the other team's basket. How can I do that? Yeah. Okay, so win it, Becky. Show them Louisville girls got some good in them. And we appreciate you all listening today. If you see Jared at a public event, walk up and slug him across the head with a wet soft drink. He'll love it. Just make sure it's not been iced too long. It could be the equivalent of giving him a concussion. Who's to say he hadn't had one already? But thanks for listening, folks. Everybody have a great weekend. And make sure and read Cardinal Couple Monday through Sunday, and then ready to get on next Monday. 7 days a week. We're right here for you. Go Cards.